Hello nerds, this is John. I am a nerd that knits, and we're going to do just a little bit of a knit chat. I had made a sweater that I called the Rage Sweater, and I said I was going to talk about it, so we're going to talk about it. So how did the Rage Sweater start? I feel that there's a lot of things that are happening in the world that are outside our control, and instead of being angry about it, we need to make rage sweaters. Let's pour our energy into something that's less negative and make things. Because I feel like when you have no control, the only control you have is to take a negative and turn it into a positive. And that was me. It was like, why I have all these feelings, I have all these frustrations that are happening. And instead of just festering and sitting in my feelings, I was like, I want something positive out of this. And so anytime I got angry, I was like, okay, I'm gonna work on this sweater. Anytime that I'm like, could maybe punch a wall, I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna funnel my energy into this thing. And now I have this sweater that I absolutely love. But now let's talk about something completely different. And let's talk about what happens when things don't go according to plan. And that happens all the time with knitting. I am going to talk about the perfection of knitters. I feel that in any kind of art you're making, creating, doing, whatever you're doing, some things don't go according to plan if you have a plan of or expectation of what the outcome should be. With knitting in particular, you might get on Ravelry and look up a pattern and you're like, oh, I really love that. I love that color. I love that design work. I love this. I love that. I want this piece to look like that at the end. Of course, it's a pattern, and so you can make it be that piece at the end. But then there is kind of like a person like me that might not read all the directions very well, or thinks they know what they're doing, and then they get way off path, and then they go, you know what, is it worth it to reverse the entire course to make it be that perfect thing, to make it look perfect when it could be its own unique entity? Those are the things that happen with me a lot in pattern when I'm kind of conceptualizing what it should look like and what it's going to look like. I know some people are like, but it's not that piece. It's not going to look like that. That's true. But in some regards, sometimes my mistakes are way more interesting and way more enjoyable than the actual original interpretation. A long time ago, I was one of those persons that would read a book and then I would go to a movie expecting that book's interpretation to replay in a movie format. Like, okay, I want this character, this character in real life. I want it to match perfectly. And I would get really angry when a director's interpretation of the book didn't match. I used to be furious about it. It was until a friend had said, you know what, here's the thing. This book is perfect. You cannot recreate this perfection. And I kind of agreed. I said, yeah, it's a great book. It's, So this is another art form based off of that, but it's based off of it. It can't be the same thing because the original thing is so perfect. You can't like duplicate perfection. You can't recreate perfection and have everyone be happy. From those words, I just realized that sometimes you gild the lily a little too much. Sometimes. I'm not talking about every time. But sometimes when these big kind of like hiccups and mistakes happen, you kind of just roll with it. And that's exactly what happened with my Rage Sweater. So with my Rage Sweater, I don't know what went wrong, but once again, you have to understand I was raging while I was making the Rage Sweater. So in some ways, like my emotions were kind of just going, and so was my knitting. So am I surprised that I might have gotten off and one side was a little bit like there had less stitches than the other side? Yes, this is exactly what happened. Somewhere the miscalculations went wrong, somewhere I wasn't counting, and at some point it seemed like I didn't really care. It just, for me, it was the process of working through my feelings and just putting them out there. When I finally got to the end part of my sweater, I realized the front piece was way thicker on this side, and then this piece was way thin. So when you've got this panel and this panel are not matching, that's not a cardigan, that's an asymmetrical cardigan, which is fine. It was not intentional. I don't know if I could even recreate it because it was a Jean special for sure. Just know, so sometimes your expectation of what it should look like doesn't end up like that. And it could just be your feelings. It could just be lack of, you didn't read the instructions. It could be a lot of things. Is this a different Rage sweater than all the other? Well, the actual name of the sweater is the LYS, which was coined Little Yellow Sweater. So originally I was like, oh, I'll just call it the RYS, the Little Red Sweater. But then things were happening in the world and I was getting angry and I was like, you know what? I need to knit my rage. I'm into the rage knitting era. That's how I got my feelings out. If I got angry, I'd just be like, okay, you know what? This is the perfect time to knit on this sweater and then just get all the feels out. Because here's the thing, if the negative feelings aren't serving me, then why do I don't need to entertain them. They're not serving me. So therefore, put my energy through something that's even better for me. And guess what? The energy of the Rage sweater is gorgeous. It's beautiful. People love the Rage sweater. Ha! There we go. We got something beautiful from something of all my nasty, yucky feelings. I think what I'm getting at is I don't want you to look at knitters and think that we are just these perfect beings that can make these perfect things, because I will be the first one to say I'm very flawed and so is my knitting, and I will point you out the flaws, no problem, because I wouldn't have my Rage sweater had I not just said, you know what, I'm just gonna go with the flow. And a lot of people love the asymmetrical look. And that was born out of mistakes. And that was also born out of rage. And so in some ways, it is kind of like a cosmic twist of how negative feelings, if you deal with them in a right way, or if you deal with them in a more, constructive way, you get something fun out of it. And I definitely enjoy the Rage sweater. And I think you guys enjoy the Rage sweater too. Another project that I did way, way, way before the Rage sweater, this was years ago. I was driving to see my best friend in Montana. I had a project and it was going to be just a triangle, just a triangle shawl. Nothing really, nothing big. I don't know. It was just very basic. It was lace, of course. And there were a lot of pieces, of course. But with my ADHD, sometimes I just see patterns in a different way than some people do, and sometimes I read them differently. And so sometimes I really have to stop and go, is this what they mean? Or is this what they mean? And sometimes I do really stop and take stock in it and try to figure it out. And then there are some times where I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna do it this way. Because, who doesn't relate to that? That's exactly what I did. I did the, I know what I'm doing. And I just fucked it up. And I did. I royally messed up this pattern so bad that there wasn't just one panel of this triangle. There were 3 panels. Yes, you heard me correctly. There were 3 panels of just this particular shawl. It was supposed to be just one giant panel, and somehow I made it into 3 separate panels. I don't know how. I really don't know how. To this day, it's still one of my favorite shawls. So after I wore this and made it, and I love it, my younger sister, who never in a million years would ask me to knit her anything, was like, I want one of those. And then I had to be like, well, how did I mess this pattern up? I had to rethink, how did I royally screw this pattern so I could recreate the screw up? I did. I recreated the screw up, and she got her own version of that particular shawl. And when I posted on Ravelry, people would be like, how did you do this? And I'm like, well, I think maybe this person sent me an email asking me how I did that, and I think I shot them an email back. Well, I perceive this as this. I feel like when you are sitting here watching videos, or if you're looking at patterns and you're thinking, this is epic, never in a million years. Yes, you can do it. I would encourage you to also just be okay if you do it wrong, because I have learned a lot from my mistakes, and like everyone always says, you learn more from your mistakes than from things that you're like, I'm so good at already, because like there's very few of us that are so good at already, especially when only something that you gotta get used to. It's a learned thing. It's just like, I feel like if you're like, oh, Sean's such a perfect knitter, there's no such thing as perfection. No. I'm perfectly flawed, and I'm okay with that. I am really great at making mistakes and then learning from them, because I feel that that's kind of what I'm supposed to do. And that's also what I'm trying to get at towards knitting. So if you're sitting here going like, it's not perfect, it's okay. I dropped a stitch. Okay, well, you can fix dropped a stitch. You know, oh, I dropped a stitch like 5 rows ago. Well, how noticeable is it? I mean, like, do you need to fix it? Do you just need to put like a little stitch marker on it and then sew it into your project later? That's not hard. Some of these are easy mistakes, and then some of them were like, whoa girl, you really messed that pattern up, like I've done so many times. But here's the thing, at the end of the project, sometimes that mistake is way more interesting than the original creation. And so there's just those two pieces that I really want to have you be drawn inspiration from. And I'm sure I'm going to be doing a lot of mistakes in the future, and I'm kind of excited for it, because you know what? It's unique. It's a one-off. It's definitely an outlier. And I tell you what, I like being an outlier. I like it. I prefer it. It's not for everyone, but I'm really okay with it. I think I've always been an outlier, so I think I'll just keep on chugging along. So I hope that encourages you that, you know, perfection in knitting is just a concept that we need to do away with, and that, you know, make mistakes. You know, we're all flawed, but at the same time, like, within reason. Sometimes you make big mistakes and you're like, oh, this is so much cooler than the original thing. Or sometimes you make mistakes and you go, oh, I needed to learn from this experience. I've definitely made the, oh, I need to learn from this experience. But these two particular projects were definitely the, oh, this is cool. Oh, I messed this up royally, but it's kind of cool. So yes, the outcome will be the outcome. Sometimes you just need to be okay with how it turns out. And if you don't like it, you can always rip it out and restart it. Just always remember that. If you are like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, rip it out and restart it. There's nothing wrong with a blank slate. There's nothing wrong with starting over. There's nothing wrong. You didn't lose. You know, you're not, there's nothing wrong with it. People restart their lives all the time. Well, there's nothing wrong with restarting knitting. Happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy crafting. Have a great day.